Establishing battlefield control. Stand by. Battle control online. New mission objective received.
Now you die. Now you die. Of course. Everyone. Of course. Need a shocking therapy, I see. Just like the old days. Kill them all. They close, road, and they run. What? Nobody to kill? Need a shocking therapy, I see. Of course. One by one. Of course. Leading the Soviet war machine. One by one. Of course. Need a shocking therapy, I see. Kill them all. Why do we wait? Need a shocking therapy, I see. Leading the Soviet war machine. And they run. Of course. One by one. Leading the Soviet war machine. And they run. I realize. Kill them all. Why do we wait? Bring them to me. Why do we wait? Capacitors fully charged. Need a shocking therapy, I see.
Unit promoted.
Nobody to... Now you die. Just like the old days. Need a shocking therapy, I see. Leading the Soviet war machine. Bring them to me. Need a shocking therapy, I see. Leading the Soviet war machine. Why do we wait? Nikolai, round. Now you die. Leading the Soviet war machine. Need a shocking therapy. Capacitors fully charged. Just like the old days. Now you die. Leading the Soviet war machine. Bring them to me. What? Nobody to kill? Now you die. Leading the Soviet war machine. And they run. Now you die. One by one. Just like the old days. Now you die. One by one. Bring them to me. Why do we wait? Bring them to me. Just like the old days. Bring them to me. Bring them to me.
Unit promoted.
Nobody to kill. Road. Why do we wait? Just like the old days. Now you die. Just like the old days.
Select target.
Leading the Soviet war machine. Kill them all. What? Nobody to kill? Now you die. Of course. What? Nobody to kill? Now you die. Kill them all. Just like the old days. Leading the Soviet war machine. One by one. Just like the old days. Of course. Capacitors fully charged. Why do we wait? Now you die. Now you die. Now you die. And they run. Need a shocking therapy, I see. Now you die. Kill them all. Why do we wait? What? Nobody to kill? Need a shocking therapy, I see. Of course. Now you die. Of course. Need a shocking therapy, I see. Of course. Bring them to me. Of course. Just like the old days. Just like the old days. Nicola would be proud. Just like the old days. Of course! Nicola would be proud. Leading the Soviet war machine. Kill them all! Nicola would be proud. Of course! Why do we wait? Of course! Kill them all! Now you die, and they run. Just like the old days. Need a shocking therapy, I see. Why do we wait? Now you die. Now you die. Just like the old days. Now you die. Just like the old days. Of course. And they run. And they run. What? Nobody to kill? Just like the old days. Capacitors fully charged. Of course! Leading the Soviet war machine. What? Nobody to kill? Why do we wait?
Select target.
Leading the Soviet war machine. Now you die. Why do we wait? Of course! Why do we wait? Now you die. Why do we wait? One by one. Bring them to me. Why do we wait? What? Nobody to kill? Nicola would be proud. What? Nobody to kill? Just like the old days. Just like the old days. What? Nobody to kill? What? Nobody to kill? Kill them all! Why do we wait? Kill them all!
Unit lost.
The Soviet war machine. Now you die. And they run. Need a shocking therapy, I see. Now you die. Kill them all. Just like the old days. Kill them all. I feel revitalized. Why do we wait? Why do we wait? Need a shocking therapy, I see. Capacitors fully charged. What? Nobody to kill? What? Nobody to kill? Now you die. Why do we wait? What? Nobody to kill? One by one. Of course. One by one.
Objective complete.
What? Nobody to kill? Just like the old days. Now
New
you
mission
die.
objective received.
Just like the old days. Need a shocking therapy, I see. What? Nobody to kill? Bring them to me. What? Nobody to kill? One by one. Now you die. Need a shocking therapy, I see. What? Nobody to kill? And they run. Of course! I feel revitalized, just like the old days. Why do we wait? Need a shocking therapy, I see. Need a shocking therapy, I see. Of course! Need a shocking therapy, I see. Kill them all! Now you die. Nicola would be proud. What? Nobody to kill? Why do we wait? Why do we wait? Now you die. Kill them all.
Select target.
Bring them to me. Of course. Now you die. What? Nobody to kill? One by one. Just like the old days. Why do we wait? Of course. Of course. Of course. What? Nobody to kill? Just like the old days. What? Nobody to kill? Just like the old days. Why do we wait? Why do we wait? Why do we wait? Why do we wait? Just like the old days. I feel
ready.
Revitalize. Of course. And they run. Of course. Why do we wait? Why do we wait?
Tools ready. I will go.
Leading the Soviet war machine. Just like the old days. Why do we wait? Nikola would be proud. Of course. One by one. Just like the old days. One by one. Why do we wait? Just like the old days. And they run.
Select target.
Bring them to me. Just like the old days. Kill them all. Just like the old days. Just like the old days. Kill them all. Of course. Kill them all. What? Nobody to kill? One by one. One by one. Attack me. One by one. What? Nobody to kill? Kill them all. Of course. And they run.
I have the information.
Capacitors fully charged. Kill them all.
Something needs fixing. Moving.
I feel revitalized. And they run. Of course. Kill them all. This choking therapy I see. One by one. What? Nobody to kill? What? Nobody to kill?
I know how it works.
Bring them to me. Kill them all. What? Nobody to kill? Now you die.
I know how it works. I
Bring
will
them
go.
to me. They run. Just like the old days. One by one. Kill them all.
Select target.
Capacitors fully charged.
Engineering.
What?
Yes, Commander.
Nobody to kill? Why do we wait? One by one. And they run. Of course. Need a shocking therapy, I see. Why do we wait? Why do we wait? Kill them all. Why do we wait? Kill them all. Need a shocking therapy, I see. And they run. Need a shocking therapy, I see. And they run. Why do we wait? Now you die.
I have the information. I will go.
Just like the old days. What? Nobody to kill? Need a shocking therapy, I see. Leading the Soviet war machine. What? Nobody to kill? Need a shocking therapy, I see. Of course.
I have the information.
Capacitors
Yes,
fully
Commander.
charged. Of course.
Select target.
I feel revitalized. And they run. Now you die. Why do we wait? Kill them all. Kill them all. Of course. Kill them all. Why do we wait? Now you die. What? Nobody to kill? Need a shocking therapy, I see. One by one. Need a shocking therapy, I see. And they run. Need a shocking therapy, I see. Of course. Kill them all. What? Nobody to kill? Just like the old days. Why do we wait?
Need a repair?
Just like the old days. Nikola would be proud.
Engineering. Checking design.
Nikola would be proud. Bring them to me. Capacitors fully charged. Of course. Now you die. Just like the old days. Bring them to me. Why do we wait? Of course.
Select target.
Bring them to me. Of course. Just like the old days. Why do we wait? Need a shocking therapy, I see. Just like the old days. Kill them all. Need a shocking therapy, I see. Of course. Just like the old days. Of course. What? Nobody to kill? Of course. Kill them all. One by one. Kill them all. One by one. Of course. One by one. What? Nobody to kill? Now you die. What? Nobody to kill? Now you die. Why do we wait? Kill them all. Need a shocking therapy, see? Just like the old days.
Objective complete. Mission accomplished.